Hey everybody, welcome back to the Grad Centric podcast. Today we're going to talk about teacher loan forgiveness and public service loan forgiveness. Now, one of the reasons why I'm covering this topic now is because we are under the PSLF waiver program, which I've discussed in previous episodes and in blog posts. But essentially, the Biden administration has looked at public service loan forgiveness and they have implemented some changes. And one of the changes that I don't see talked about that often is the relationship between teacher loan forgiveness and public service loan forgiveness. And the waiver has changed that dynamic in a positive way. So let's talk about that. All right, first, we're going to need to start with just teacher loan forgiveness in general, get an understanding of what it is. So, teacher loan forgiveness is a 5-year program. It's a 5-year consecutive year program, and we'll talk about our three main qualifying items as we go along here. But it is a 5-year program, whereas we talk about public service loan forgiveness being a 10-year program, which of course I like to talk about it in terms of 120 qualifying payments. Now, if we divide 120 by 10, or 120 by, 110 by 12, we get 10 years, of course. So that's why a lot of people talk about public service loan forgiveness in terms of a 10-year program. But it really is 120 qualifying payments. So here for teacher loan forgiveness, we're talking about a 5-year program. One of the good things about teacher loan forgiveness is that we're talking about direct and FFEL loans, which when we think about the historic public service loan forgiveness program, not thinking about the waiver right now, the FFEL loans actually don't qualify. It is a smaller amount of loan forgiveness. It's $17,500. So 5 years, that's the amount of forgiveness that you're going to get. Not an insignificant amount of money, but certainly when we talk about public service loan forgiveness, there isn't a cap on that forgiveness. And so we can get forgiveness for tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there's three main qualifying items. Well, you need to be a teacher. And by the way, I'm talking in broad strokes here. If you want to get the full detailed look at what it means to be a qualifying teacher, for instance, check out the Department of Education's website, studentaid.gov. You can check out my blog post at gradmetrics.com on this topic, and I've linked to all those sites. But you need to be a teacher, and you need to be working at an approved school, which there is a list of approved schools. And then it's for 5 consecutive and full years. And there are some distinctions. For instance, if you leave in the middle of a school year, you can walk through some detailed tests to see if you can still qualify for a full year. But that's essentially what we're looking at: teacher, qualifying school, and 5 consecutive and full years. Now let's talk about this in terms of what does it look like to get public service loan forgiveness. Now we've talked about teacher loan forgiveness. Now let's talk about public service loan forgiveness. So public service loan forgiveness looks at really 4 requirements, and we're talking about the historical program right here, but it's direct loans. You have to be under a qualifying repayment plan. You have to work full-time for a qualifying employer, and then you have to make 120 qualifying payments, which we talked about just a little bit ago. So direct loans is what we're talking about here instead of FFEL loans, although the waiver in particular addresses that topic. Number 2, qualifying repayment plan. Waiver also looks at that. Then working full-time for qualifying employer, that's something that really hasn't changed over time. And then making those 120 qualifying payments, that again hasn't changed. So if you want to look more about PSLF, I've linked that again in many of the blog posts that I have at gradmetrics.com. Go to studentaid.gov, you can find information on this program. But this leads us to the discussion of the waiver, which I've talked about in previous episodes. It really looks at public service loan forgiveness and waives a lot of these requirements, which is a really good thing. It means that more people are going to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. I also like to remind people that this is really a retrospective program. So it's waiving for a temporary period of time some requirements, and a lot of times the servicer is actually going back and automatically looking at payments that maybe didn't qualify historically, but certainly do now. And all sorts of other things with the waiver program. We're not really talking about the waiver program specifically in detail in this episode, but there's one component of the waiver program that addresses or is relevant to what we're talking about today. So in historical public service loan forgiveness, you weren't able to double dip, so to speak, or sequentially get time towards public service loan forgiveness and also time towards teacher loan forgiveness. So if you went through the 5 years of teacher loan forgiveness, you qualified for and received your forgiveness for the teacher loan program. You couldn't also count those 5 years towards the 10 years of public service loan forgiveness. Just didn't work that way. But actually, surprisingly, shockingly, and beneficially, what has happened with the new waiver program is that you actually can count that time now under this temporary waiver program. And like I said, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this. It is very important for teachers who have received teacher loan forgiveness. So something to be aware of. If you have received teacher loan forgiveness in the past, the waiver program is going to introduce this really beneficial change for you. So if you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out. You can reach out on my website. There is a link to schedule time to visit with me. You can also email or sorry, text or call 816-601-2002. You can also email me at jason@gradmetrics.com, and I look forward to hearing from you.